It is unreasonably late. Too late to do a video. People are already in bed. It's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning in the East Coast. I should be retiring myself. It is Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the Hebrew New Year. We are surrounded by people with their 5, 7, 8, 3 insights, of which I'm going to give you none. Because, you see, I think the news, a lot of people miss, including, dare I say, prophets, is happening right now. The movement is a political movement. Remember this. Remember I told you this. All of you wonderful people, 170 of you, who are listening to me at this late hour, or perhaps tomorrow morning when you wake up. Remember this, Europe is always about a year ahead of the United States. Brexit, remember, happened, and the shift to conservatism happened with Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage, like a year before Trump emerged, and the surge and surprise happened with the conservative movement here. Now, there's a division in the states of Europe, as there's a division in the United States. Sheep nations and goat nations. The LGBTQ support the war against Russia, crazy cult of environmentalism. Brussels' central power is bankrupting Europe and is causing states that are watching the immigration surge in, crime rising, the economy falling, energy prices soaring, environmental policy destroying them. From the Netherlands to Italy to Sweden, there's a revolt. Hungary and Poland are saying, we don't want to have to transgenderize our education system. No, thank you very much. We want God. We want our families, and we want our flippin' borders and culture protected from your invasion. And for that, right now, momentous prophetic events are happening that are not being addressed by the 5783 crowd. Although there's no doubt a lot of good in the 5783s. Catch what's happening, because Europe is right ahead of the United States, and it's going to end up being, they're already vilifying the woman that won the election there in Italy, the latest nail in the coffin of Lucifer in the European Union, the Davos crowd, the one world government orgy of LGBT, environmental, transgender transformation of US, Canada, and Europe. That devil is coming down. Now, the head of the European Union just threatened Viktor Orban and Poland, basically saying, we've got $43 billion you need. We're all in a common kitty here. You put money in, like you pay your taxes. Well, we've got your money, and we have tools to get you to comply with what we want you to do. You will not resist our new religion. We have a new religion. I want you to understand something. Woke is a religion. Transgenderism, race theory, has been elevated and exalted to the status of a religious creed that is morally, that is being shrouded in a moral argument that you must submit to and your children must be taught. We got in this midterms one shot at breaking up that thing, or it looks like America's going down. I know you're going to all tell me, no, Lance got the prophecies. Listen, I'm tired of happy talk. Unless you're going to have corresponding action, if you don't describe the devil clearly, if you don't describe the disease accurately, if you don't describe the threat of death profoundly enough, you're not going to pray the prayers that are going to produce a resurrection. My wife has an employee who was dying a week ago, and she just came to me and she said, you know, he was drinking so bad before he got saved, his liver doesn't work. She said, he's saved, he's filled with the Spirit, he loves the Lord, but he's He's in a bad way with double pneumonia. He's on his face. They're putting him into hospice, and his liver's failed. They're saying he's going to die. But I'm talking to his mother, and my intercessors are on this thing, and we're not going to let him die. He's not going to die. And then she was trying to get a hold of Mahesh Chavda and everyone that I know that has a healing ministry. And she's calling him up and saying, we got to pray. A couple of other people she got a hold of. And I'll tell you what, next thing I know, I see the hospice is shocked because the guy comes out of hospice. They said there's the only person they ever saw that went into hospice that got up and walked out. My wife wouldn't let him die. She just, and I could see it. She was being unreasonable. But let me tell you something. She only fought for his resurrection life because she stared death in the face. And if you don't see what's happening in America as death in the face, if you're glibly, happily twiddling away and dancing away and prophesying away and thinking it's all going to be wrapped up, you don't have a clue what's really going on. We are in a death struggle. Mastriano needs your support in Pennsylvania. Every Christian in Pennsylvania needs to be on their knees and need to be out there working to get that guy in. Kerry Lake out, the same thing in Arizona. Doug Masters. You know what I'm talking about. You've got Ron out there in Wisconsin right now. These men are in the battle of their lives, these men and women, and they're Christians. Many of them are Christians. While we sit down and we don't want to get political. I'm tired of preachers that keep saying, well, it isn't about politics. It is about politics. Nut. When you're dealing with the Nazi party, or you're dealing with the KKK, or you're dealing with organized Antifa, you're dealing with something you can't afford to go too neutral. You've got to say, we're dealing with a governmental crisis. Now, they're going to come at us, and they're going to come at these leaders in Europe. They're going to cut off their money. They're going to threaten to cut off their money if they don't go with the woke new religion. Viktor Orban, they don't have the significance of Italy. Italy, there's a lady right now that just won the election in Italy, and she is being completely vilified as if she is Hitler, Mussolini. And all she's doing is standing for God, for family, and for the country. For God, family, and country. And all the left-wing buzzards are out. That's why I'm half worked up right now. Because I don't think that we know who our friends are. Steve Bannon said it yesterday, talking to one of the War Room guys. He said within a year, they're going to start making this an attack against Christian nationalism. Because any political leader that's talking about God and family, they're going to flip it and make them sound like they're Christian nationalist fascists. When in fact, the fascists are the ones on the left and in control of the news media and the political parties that are trying to label God's people as fascists when we simply are trying to stand for our families, try to preserve our economy from depression, Great Depression destruction, and preserve the freedoms for our children. Well, I got all excited tonight when I'm thinking that, and then Tucker pops in.
All over American television, including on channels that should know better, as, quote, far right. That's far right, really? Because she acknowledges that American families are under attack? Of course they are. You think it's accidental? No. And she explains why. And it's simple. If you want to establish totalitarian control over a country, of course you have to destroy the family first. Because nobody with deep family loyalty, the one thing every person should have, no one who has that will ever pledge absolute obedience to a politician. Why would you? So if you want absolute obedience, you have to sever family ties. And that's why state schools brainwash your children with values that you despise and then instruct your children to turn you in as a thought criminal if you object. That's happening. It's not your imagination, and it's happening for a reason. Wokeness is not just a political ideology. It's not just something annoying that emerged on college campuses that we can ignore. It's a state religion that supplants actual religion, which is also being destroyed. There's a reason the strip bars and the liquor stores and the weed dispensaries stayed open under COVID, but the churches didn't. If you can't draw the connection between those dots, you're missing it. But Maloney didn't miss it. She understands it perfectly.
There is so much more waiting for you over at lancewallnell.com/podcast. This was only an excerpt. This isn't the whole episode. There's so much over there. Be sure you go check it out. lancewallnell.com/podcast. See you over there.
There's nothing more important to you than your children or your grandchildren. You know what I'm going to recommend? You get a hold of Mike Lindell's really cool pillows. These pillows that tell the story of Bible characters and how they overcame and how God was with them. The scriptures on the back, the stories on the front. Tell them the story before they go to bed. They put their head on that pillow. And then ask God to give them dreams. And God will give them dreams and fill them with faith even while they sleep. Go to mypillow.com. Use